Ahem, my King Dirian, I have brought the servant you have sent for.
Yes, just in time. I'm in need of some, servant help. Yes.
Of course, my lord. If that will be all.
Yes, Welwick, that will be all. Back to your duties.
With pleasure, sire, with pleasure.
Finally, some alone time. At last. I thought that meeting with the entire Sky Council was never going to end. Yes, that's why those fancy-looking avians flew in today. The mean-looking lady with the blue wings, the flashy one with the red ones. They're all here because the Sky Council thought it was enough of an emergency to address these rumors about some so-called Phoenix Man allegedly sighted somewhere. If you ask me, they're either just trying to find this guy to get him on their side, or make sure that he stays a rumor so they can keep their pretty little seats in the court of Elvira. But me? I think it is hilarious how they're all freaking out about some probably random guy just living the life of a normal half-blood out there in this shitty world. It's about time those bitching birds started to feel a bit more humble. I hate that I have to keep good relations with them just by honoring my ancestors' will and keeping the dragons part of the Sky Council. But, since King Sendeverus was one of its first founders, I guess it should honor his will. He did make this haven for us. The least we can do is follow his ideals for a better future. But I finally convinced them all to call a recess since the storm moved in. I know those birdies don't like getting their wings wet. Well, they won't ask to stay here overnight. As you may know, there's a history of scandal with these kind of things here. At least I got a good brother out of one, though. But, yes. I guess it takes a full storm over the south to give us some alone time together. If I wanted to, I'd thank the Divine of Storms. But I wouldn't want to get my wings ripped off and tossed from a spire for breaking taboo. I'm just kidding. It takes a bit more than that to find yourself at the bottom of the moat down there. I don't know about you, but I just love bad weather. The gray skies, the thunder, the rain, the lightning, the pure power it has. Almost makes me jealous that I wasn't born a blue dragon. Then I could fly up there into the sky and dance with all the flashes of light. But, alas, I'm confined to my palace bedroom, all by my lonesome, to lounge about and shirk my duties as king momentarily. Whatsoever shall I do? Well, that's why I got Welwick to fetch you. Who better than my little treasure to waste away my time with? When we're all alone like this, it reminds me of how I felt when we first met. I guess I didn't know what precious treasure I had encountered when I had you locked up and playing riddles in that old fortress. And even now, every time I sneak away to see you, I still get that same ecstatic feeling as I did back then. It's a feeling I love very, very much. And it just so happens to come from someone I love very, very much. Hell, I saw how well Wick looked. I'm pretty sure everyone in the palace knows by now. Or at least has heard a rumor or two. Okay, look. I'm not exactly a good liar or subtle about how I feel about you at all. I just can't help it. You mean too much to me. You're You're my greatest treasure. And like I said, I'm a greedy dragon. I want to show you off to all of them, and make them grind their teeth in envy that I have you beside me, and not them. Look at you. Probably having to resist the advances of the dragon soldiers here every time you cross the barracks to get back to the servants' quarters. Ugh. Perhaps it wasn't a good idea to make you a servant after all. Ugh. Well, I don't want to have to whip some drooling sky dogs into shape. I already have a busy schedule. But then again, can you blame them? I mean, look at you. I call you treasure not just because you mean a lot to me. Oh, and while I have you here, when I went through the archives to search for Bryn's lineage, I saw something familiar. Quite familiar, actually. So I went back after the council meeting, and sure enough, I found it. Your surname was mentioned in our archives. After I read that, I knew it looked too familiar to pass up. It wasn't just a coincidence. Evidently, your grandmother came to the Sky Palace during the youthful reign of my grandfather. She paid tribute to him and even stood in his wedding to my grandmother. This was when the palace was open to all half-bloods and outlander humans who wanted to help with liberation. It says here that your grandmother was the leader of a mercenary band that worked out of Capeland, a party of misfits, and her as their fearless leader clad in armor with a gleaming sword at her side. That's what the archive said. She befriended the future queen and some of the lieutenants, and stood as a maiden in my grandparents' marriage and coronation. I had my suspicions, but I had a feeling my grandfather recognized you. The moment he saw you, he had this look in his eyes. You were definitely the grandchild of the human woman that whipped him into shape. But that will of yours, and those stories she told you of us, it all makes sense now. And I guess I have her to thank for your fascination with dragonkind. That drive that led you right to me. Right here. Into these arms of mine. I guess you'll have to go back to Akan and thank her for me. But we still have to wait out this storm. Now, how, oh how, shall we pass the time? Any ideas, my little treasure? Well, I can't say I'm opposed to one night of...
King Darian, it's the new prince. He just got back to the palace and, well, you have to see it to believe it, sir.
Ugh. Bryn? What the hell happened now?
Let's just pick this back up tonight, shall we? Come on, let's go.